Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the door controls number 6115 DKB. This is an adjustable surface-mounted door closer in a dark bronze finish. This is a grade 1 closer for an incredibly reasonable cost. A grade 1 closer, I used to know grade 1 as 1,000,000 cycles, but I understand it's changed to 800,000 cycles of reliable operation. I don't know what the maximum limit on this closer would be, but my guess it would be far in excess of 800,000 cycles. So what we have here, we're going to do a visual tour of the item. We're going to go over the installation instructions, and we're going to touch on everything as I remove everything from its packaging. So the 6115, that's going to infer that this is a adjustable spring closer, the 1.5. Okay, that means that you're going to have the ability to adjust the spring tension, so that this one single closer that's going to have a look that's going to be awfully familiar to you is going to be able to permit you with a single closer to work on all kinds of door sizes, everything from a 2-foot small little door to a 4-foot door. Okay, door weights realistically probably up to 200 pounds, if not rated higher, and we'll look at the installation instructions in a moment and see if that paperwork has a table for door application. I would imagine that it does. So immediately what's nice about this closer is that not only is it grade 1, so it's the heaviest duty grade, it is comprehensive in what's included. You're going to get the industry standard body and the industry standard footprint, the dimensional properties. We'll go over that in a moment. Okay, this is going to give you the ability to have not only spring adjustment, obviously your latch, I'm looking at the letters, your latch and your sweep valve, but also a back check valve. The only thing that this does not have is a delayed action valve on it. Handicap compliance doesn't require a delayed action valve on the unit so long as you are within code for the amount of time it takes to bring that door from the open position to its latching valve location, which is about 10 degrees from closed. You need so many seconds to get to that position, 5 seconds. And just with the standard sweep valve control, you can control how long it will take to close that. You could turn that so that it literally takes a minute for it to close. A delayed action would give you the ability to control that, but this closer already does that. This closer will give you the ability to operate in that sort of regard without any sort of trouble at all. The closer will include a cover, okay, which is nice. You can opt to use it. You can opt not to use it. I've seen this closer designed many different times, many different places. It will include an arm, the typical threaded rod forearm with its main arm. It's going to include the parallel arm bracket, which will allow you to tri-mount this, tri-3, regular arm, top jam, and parallel arm mount, which we'll go over all that in a moment. Bag of screws, whole mess of screws. So let's go over the dimensional properties of this item now, and we'll see what we're dealing with here. The important thing with the door closer, especially if you're replacing one, certainly, and if you're doing a new installation, is to know the size of the closer. If it's a replacement, you want to be able to match those screw holes, certainly. If it's a new installation, you will want to be sure that you have the adequate room top rail on your door or on your header for it to fit compatibly. Overall length of the body, about 9 5/8. The important part is the center-to-center footprint of the closer, and that's going to be about 9 1/16. Screw hole to screw hole is going to be about 9 1/16. Overall height of the body, about 1 3/4 and the vertical center to center is going to be 3/4 inch. Those sizes are so common, they're just memorized. 9 1/16 center to center, 3/4 inch center to center, and is probably the most common footprint for a door closer that you'll find. The overall width of the closer cover itself is about 10 1/8, and overall height about 2 3/4, with an overall projection of about 2 7/8 or so. The parallel arm bracket, just the width, and we'll measure where those holes are located. About 3/8 all the way over to about 3 1/8. The holes closer to the face of the door are going to be at about 3/4 inch over to 2 13/16, I'd say. Then this arm is going to be able to tolerate standard installations, and we'll go over what the maximum reveal would be if you're doing a top jam mount. A nice dark bronze color, a little darker on the dark bronze scale. Kind of actually looks like antique bronze relieved with a lacquer, a US 10R is what it actually looks like. Okay, but it's certainly going to be complementary with your dark bronze hardware. Well, I should say your dark bronze possible storefront sort of installations. You know, there's variations when it comes to dark bronze hardware in the commercial door industry. This is a little darker than some others that I've seen. Now, a few other selling points before we move into the installation instructions. This closer is intended for medium to high traffic applications, for storefront applications generally because of its narrow footprint. This is made of high-grade aluminum, packed with an all-weather fluid, which means that in very low temperatures, there'll still remain some viscosity to the oil within the unit so that it still operates. In your northern climates, you're going to run into that all the time, obviously. It comes with the back check valve, which we'll talk about in a moment, the sweep and the latch, the adjustable spring tension. This is UL listed, which means it's approved to be used on a fire door assembly. It is ADA compliant. That will comply with the maximum foot-pounds to not exceed the maximum force required to open the door for handicap compliant applications. In addition to that, meets the stringent California building code for the same foot-pound of pressure. And in fact, the catalogs tells us that it's been tested to exceed 2 million cycle counts. And it is an outrageously inexpensive door closer. Outrageously. You'd be able to install these quickly, easily, give your client one heck of a value, and give them a closer that's going to take incredible amounts of use. There are accessories that are available for this item that by the time you're seeing this video will likely be listed as related products, such as drop plates that are used in parallel arm mounts or in top jam mounts when you don't have adequate top rail dimension. And then you can also buy the components separately, like the arm, the parallel arm bracket, the screw pack, a hold open, a friction style hold open arm as well, replacement covers. Sometimes the covers just simply get cracked and need to be replaced, or they're vandalized and destroyed, removed, etc., things of that nature. Okay, now the installation instructions, and they are listed down below this video that you can review. Installation instructions for door closers, in my experience, are generally 4 pages. We talked about the tri-mount. 3 different ways to install the door closer, which we'll go over. That's 3 of the 4. Generally, the 4th page is going to give you an overview of the items, an overview of how you set the settings of the closer, a bill of materials, what's included in the box. Closers are really that easy to install. And there's only one thing that you have to be quite careful of, which we'll go over in a moment. So when I look at these installation instructions, okay, that are here and listed. Right on. So the first page is going to tell us that it's certainly important for you to define the hand of the door so that you know what it is exactly that you're installing based on the mount type that you're going to elect to use. But we'll go over that when we get to it. We'll go over the components, the closer body, which we've seen, the parallel arm, your arm assembly. Then, indeed, they go over the closing speed control. They have... Let's go over the closing speed control. The closing speed is relegated by two valves. One is called the S, or sweep valve. The other is called the L, or latch valve. They're literally marked. Another feature making this a high-end closer, in my opinion, is that, I just noticed it, is that the valves are staked. You see those pins that are on either side? What that prevents is the unintentional removal, someone not knowing better the first time I did it many, many years ago, of removing that valve out too far, opening the valve too much. The set screw will pop out, the fluid will appear on your clothing and on the floor and on the door. So those valves are staked, preventing us from taking it out too far. Anyway, that's a very good feature. Not all closers are like that. So the closing speed is going to be divided between the sweep. They show it to be about 120 degree. It's generally about 80 degree or so, down to about 10 degree. Then you have the latch, or the L, which is basically 10 to 0. Okay, you can control out here to here, independently of here to here, which is nice. You turn those clockwise and you'll close that valve and slow everything down. What you'll do is, after you get it installed, you'll test the operation and then adjust as necessary. Now, the opening door control, really what you have there is the back check, and that's going to be BC, it's going to say on it, right there, also staked. The back check allows you at about 80 degree, if the door were to be an exterior door that swings out, door gets to about 80 degree, a new valve is going to come into play. That's the back check. The purpose of the back check is to arrest the uncontrolled opening cycle of the door. Think of the door getting open, wind catching it, and it being pushed further open. The back check will help arrest that movement significantly. It's noticeably observable when you see it work, or if you try to push the door open, you'll notice that that new valve kicks in and slows the door down. It's not a dead stop. It's not going to prevent the door from swinging. It will just arrest it to a certain extent. It will certainly slow it down. Back check valve controls the hydraulic resistance to door opening in the back check range. Never close this valve completely, and it's not there to provide a positive stop. If you close the valve completely, you try to push it, you'll be forcing fluid past where it's not supposed to go, and you'll damage the closer. You'll destroy the closer. And it is not something that is to be treated as an absolute physical stop, because it will continue to open. The adjust the closing, back to the closing speed control. Adjust closing speed to between 4 and 6 seconds from 90 degree. Use by the handicapped, elderly, or small children may require a longer closing time. The code says 5 seconds. That would be your minimum to get that door from its open position down to its latch valve. 5 seconds. You can take that. I have one of these door closers installed, and I have it set. It probably takes 20 seconds to close, just because I've tweaked the sweep valve a bit. Below that on page 1 does indeed show us where those valves are located. The one that we've not talked about is the spring power. It's probably set right now to a size 3 spring, which will be appropriate. You'll adjust that if necessary. It probably won't be necessary, but it might be. If you're installing a 3'6" door and a parallel arm mount, you're going to have to increase the spring tension. You can also adjust the closing foot. You can also adjust the door shoe to either give you a little extra closing force or a little less, based on where you position the forearm into those holes. And you can see when you have this aligned towards the hinge side, let's say, you'll have more power if you were to reposition this over to this hole, or less. Very unusual to change the position of the rod shoe, but it will give you a small amount of additional or less operation when it comes to the door closer itself. Very rare that people actually know to do that, but you can. If you needed a little extra power, you can manipulate the articulation of that arm to give you that advantage. The next 3 pages, as I said earlier, are your 3 mounting methods. Let's go over that now, because you have to know, it's more important to know what arm style you're going to employ. You've got regular arm, top jam, and parallel arm. Okay, regular arm is when you install the door closer body onto the door on the pull side of the door. So the body will be on the pull side of the door. The arm is going to connect, the arm shoe will connect to the face of the header. This is all on the pull side of the door. An application for that could very typically be, you have a restaurant. We'll use the restaurant example for all of these installations. You have a restaurant and you have ladies' room, men's room. Put the door closers on the inside of the restroom so that you don't see them from the restaurant side of the doors. That's what I would do. You want to check to make sure that when your door gets open to 90 degrees that the cover is not going to hit a perpendicular wall. That's a rookie mistake that a lot of people generally only make once. Make sure that you've got the projection there, the adequate room, I should say, to account for the projection of the door closer. I've seen interesting solutions to the fact that there's a perpendicular wall right at the frame and you can't get the door open far enough, but they have still installed it in a regular arm mount. So that's a regular arm and very common. That would be recommended in all instances when you can use it. The next is going to be the top jam mount. Now, top jam mount you're going to see all the time when you walk into your favorite coffee shop. That's when you are mounting the body on the header on the push side of the opening. And then the shoe is going to mount to the face of the door, to the style, the top rail of the door. So the top jam is when you are mounting it on the egress side, up on the header. A very efficient way to install it. If you've got aluminum storefront, this will probably work with your standard aluminum storefront with no need for a drop plate at all. And when you look at the top jam template on page 3, you'll see what the dimensional requirements are. You'll also see a cross-section, by the way, on all of these of what I'm describing. Finally, our parallel arm mount restaurant application, you've got your service door or your delivery door. That's going to swing out. You're going to put the door closer body on the inside because you don't want the closer body mounted on the exterior of the opening. So a push side mount where the body's on the door itself. In this application, you have to use the parallel arm bracket, and you're going to remove the arm shoe, the rod shoe, and install this portion down onto the parallel arm bracket. So once you know the type of installation that you're going to encounter, how you want to install it, that's the sheet you're going to turn to. So you're really only going to ever use 2 of the 4 sheets for any installation. It is important to note on the parallel arm installation that, and I'm looking for it to be illustrated here, but I don't see it. You will have to very likely adjust the spring tension. In a regular arm mount, if you have a 3-foot door, you need basically, if you have a standard 3070 door, you need a size 3 spring generally. But when you parallel arm mount that, with the arm being parallel to the face of the door, there's a loss of efficiency of the door closer's ability to pull the door closed, because now it's not pulling on the arm, it's moving like this, so it's much less efficient. You'll notice that in a parallel arm mount, you need to increase the spring tension by a full stop, meaning a 3 becomes a 4. So expect to do that. And if you've got a 3'6" or a 4-foot door, you'll be taking that spring all the way up, most likely to a 5, to get that to pull the door closed reliably. Once you know the type of installation that you're going to do, review the installation instructions, because they don't all mount the same way. And what I mean there is the side that you are going to have the speed regulating valves for a regular arm is towards the door close, is towards the hinges. When you have a top jam mount, it's the same concept. These speed regulating valves will be towards the hinge side of the door. However, when you have a parallel arm mount, that changes. They go towards the lock side. Okay, so you have to be mindful of which way you're going to install this. So read that first. Read the page thoroughly first. After that, all of these door closers will have a table that will give you what's called the A dimension, which is the dimension from the vertical center line of the hinge to the first set of holes. That's the A dimension. After that, you'll find the other, so your A dimension is going to be from the hinge to the center line here. You know this is 9 1/16. Okay? That A dimension is based on the degree of opening. So if we're looking at a regular arm mount, if you want to go up to 100 degree, your A dimension will be 7 inch, according to the table. You can see that the closer you get the closer body to the vertical axis of pivoting, meaning the hinge, the further open it will go. And that runs the same for all three of the different types of mounts, top jam and parallel arm. Okay, so determine the mounting type, then determine the degree of opening, mark your first holes according to that table. Once you know that dimension based on the degree of opening, all of the other dimensions literally fall in place. You just have to review the rest of it. The only thing I had mentioned earlier, there's one really important thing. In my experience, the vertical dimensions are crucial. So when they give you the 1 1/4 inches from the top hole of the footprint, and they're taking that to the top of the door, that is absolutely an important dimension not to get wrong. If you've ever walked through a door closer, walked through a door equipped with a door closer and you hear a clanking, it's that arm hitting the top of the door. Either something's loose or it wasn't templated correctly the first time. That 1 1/4 inches, I find the vertical dimension to be the most important thing that you do. It's crucial to get that all right. So the things to look out for is what side of the body you're mounting it on. Get your A dimension correct. It doesn't have to be spot on, but it is related to a degree of opening. You know, if you're off 1/8 of an inch, it's not going to matter that much. You can see between 7 and 6 inch how the degree of opening really only changes 20 degree. And you can kind of extrapolate, I guess, if you wanted to go to 110 degree, make it 6.5 inch. You know, that sort of situation. Looking at the rest of the common template, you'll want to read the installation instructions rather than just start drilling holes, because it will tell you where the closer body goes, how to attach the arm, and the arm has information on it that you'll want to follow, and that's listed there as well. Okay. If you're going to install more than 1 or 2 closers, I would recommend that you make a template. Get yourself a block of wood or purchase one that's been professionally manufactured, which we can sell to you, and get it and create yourself a template so that at the very minimum you're all automatically marking your holes. There's the problems with door closer installation is the mismeasurement of not measuring twice and then cutting once. So if you're going to do a handful of these, take yourself a block of wood and create the locations for the footprint so that you can go in and mark the holes, center punch the holes, and then quickly make fast, quick work of the installation. I would recommend that very much, that you do that. The screw, the fastener package, it's going to give you machine screws and wood screws for the body and for the parallel arm bracket. It's going to give you the Allen wrench to make the adjustment on the 4 valves that are there. Well, the 3 valves and the spring tension. It's going to give you the special bolt to connect this down to the spindle on the door closer body. It will also give you the bolt that is needed to connect the forearm. This is the main arm. This is the forearm. That's the main arm, the forearm. Okay. It's going to give you the bolt that you would need to connect this to your parallel arm bracket, which you will need. I don't think it's going to be that same bolt, even though that same bolt may work. But I saw there's the bolt for the top of the body. It's got that washer and the lock nut on it. I thought I saw one bolt in here that was unusual. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. Where are we at here? Right here at the tip of my finger, that round head bolt that's there. You can use that to get that attached down to your parallel arm bracket, should you be doing a parallel arm. Don't throw these away. If you do door closer installation, save them. You're going to use it eventually, because not every door closer comes tri-packed. Most do, but there are some suppliers that make you order that bracket separately. So be mindful of that. Looking at the balance of the installation instructions, I don't see anything else here that is mandatory to call out. The door controls has a comprehensive offering of manual door closers and other manual hardware for the aluminum storefront industry and the commercial door industry as well. They're also a large provider of automatic door parts as well. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page. And by the way, templates are included, these paper templates. I would certainly encourage you to not discard them. They will, make life easy. Be sure you're using the right template, and always do a reality check, and always measure twice and cut once. Many, many years ago, I started to do a regular arm mount, but was using the parallel arm template, and obviously it gave me a hole. The first hole, I looked at that hole and said, that doesn't look right. Sure enough. So you want to do a reality check before you start marking and drilling and things of that nature. That template is there. Those paper templates are there to help you with that. So below this video is a link to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the door controls products that we sell, but a link to the full line product catalog, as well as a link to the manufacturer's website. Any questions on the door controls 6115, and obviously it's available in an aluminum finish as well, or any other door controls product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.